they were fearful for their jobs. It's only words at the end of the day. What is offence? When people say they're taking offence at a particular thing, it's just words. It's just a response to a particular set of words. It's not like, oh, I went to the retired Firefighters comedy gig. I was offended. And the next day when I woke up, I had leprosy. That type of thing doesn't happen, you know? It's just some fun. And it's, why are we here? That's one of the most important things. A little while back, I went a little bit, my mental health came to a head. I'd suffered from a few problems for quite a long time. And then I think towards the end of my service, I'd go out on incidents and I was starting to shake. I had no obvious fear of the situation. I like going to fires. I like seeing everybody. It's much better than going to meetings in headquarters. I love to go to incidents. I didn't really like to go to middle managers' information days. That wasn't much fun. But anyway, I'd be sitting in my car and thinking, right, where am I going? Back of beyond somewhere, the house fire, get Google Maps up, whatever, and I'd be doing this. I'd be shaking. And I thought nothing of it. It's just an adrenaline release. I'll be okay in a bit. And then when I retired, things took a turn for the worse. And I get particularly obsessed with the weather. The house when we moved into it was leaking. The comedy does start in a minute, by the way. I'm going to just try and introduce what we're here for. Anyway, cut a long story short, I started to get more and more obsessed with the weather. And we had a big storm in Devon. And I had a hard hat on, a pair of ear defenders, extra large for these flappers, and rocking backwards and forwards. And Sasha says, you need help. So I got in touch with the Firefighters charity. They got me in touch with an organisation called Stepping Stones. We did some rewind therapy, which was really, really helpful. And I'm a lot better than I was. I realise now that the house does flood. I won't drown because it'll release out the cat flap. So, thank you very much for coming. I'd like to start off with a song. I have a little bit of a singing voice, but I'd like to start off with a song. The second line of this song was written by the great, or adapted by the great Billy Connolly, but I've added to it somewhat. So, shall we begin?
Yes.
Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Now old MacDonald was dyslexic, U-E-I-O-A. And on his farm he had some cows, U-E-I-O-A. With an oom here and a moo there, here an oom, there a moo, everywhere an oom. Old MacDonald had a farm, U-E-I-O-A. Now old MacDonald had a son called Tom, E-I-E-I-O. Poor old Tom, he had Tourette's, E-I-E-I, fucking chickens. With a cluck here and a fuck there, here a cluck, there a fuck, everywhere a fucking cluck. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. Now Tom, we've been through this. We've still got cows. We've still got goats, pigs, sheep. You've had your therapy. We've done the breathing exercises. You've had your medication. Repeat after me. Pigs, goats, sheep. Pigs, goat, fucking sheep. They're not fucking sheep. There's no rams in with them. We don't want lambs being born just yet. Try again. Pigs, goat, sheep. Excellent. And they all get fucking brutally murdered in the abattoir. I think we better leave that song now, Tom. Traumatise the audience. I don't think everybody will be wanting their McDonald's on the way home now. For those of you that are now ethically opposed to eating meat, McDonald's does do a wonderful plant-based range, as reviewed on the Vegan Muscle Coach's website. The catering companies now, they have to provide so many alternative options for all our dietary needs. You can imagine if Jesus was trying to feed the 5,000 in modern times. Picture the scene, thousands of hungry Galileans all wandering around. And the questions that Jesus has been posed with, he said, you know that fish? Is it line cord? Is it from a sustainable source? And you know the bread, I'm a bit of a celiac, so have you got anything without any gluten? Also, I know what's coming. Also, I've got a wheat intolerance. Have you got anything without any wheat? Fuck off, I'm not a miracle worker. Cue Roman secret police. We knew you were a fucking charlatan. Get him on the cross. Crucifixion time. I apologise for the bad language. My mother always used to say to me, she used to say, Graham, there's nothing big and nothing clever about using foul language. But, mother dear, you can't beat a good fuck in so many ways. So, Mum, if you're watching up there, but more likely down there, thanks for the advice. Firefighters go through loads of stress, and there's more about that in a minute. But when I was based at Ely, we had a wonderful, what we would call intensive swearer. There's a term for it called coprolalia. And someone that swears excessively is called a coprolaliac. Now this individual at Ely was on the opposite watch. His name was, for anonymity's purposes, it's Sandy Norris. And he could swear, his swearing would make your ears burn. Anyway, we used to, when the watch were coming in to take over from us, we used to have a sweepstake to see how many words into his introduction before he'd use an expletive. I think on the one particular day when he was coming in, I decided it was word number 3. Kevin Barry, God rest his soul, it was number 4. And I think Steve Hopkins was number 7. How wrong we were. He opened the door into the mess room in Ely, and his opening phrase was, "Fuck me, I'm fucking fucked." He said 5 words, and 3 of them were the F word.
Thank you.
Mind, having said that, he had used it as a verb, an adverb, and a moderator, so it did show he had a good command of English grammar. As I say, firefighters swear a lot because of nerves. Well, we all do in general. We tend to swear when we're nervous. And tonight I'm as nervous as a kitten. It's one of the few characteristics I share with our feline friends. I certainly can't jump 6 times my length, my body length. If I could, can you imagine, we'd be able to break the high jump and the pole vault record without using a pole. And before I move on, I'll say thinking back to the Olympics for the pole vaulting reference, I've just wanted to tell you this. Oh no, he's ad-libbing again. This isn't part of the script. He'll never get back to where he was supposed to go. Anyway, we're in Cardiff Wales Airport, and I've been tasked with being a commander for the Olympics. I've still got the little badge, very proud of that. And there's a group of athletes coming off a plane. One of them had one of these long, much longer than like a snooker cue box, you know, those types of things. And I said to him, "Are you a pole vaulter?" He said, "No, I'm from the Czech Republic, and how do you know my name's Walter?" Anyway, I think I've stolen that joke from somewhere, but it seemed to work. Now, firefighters swear when they're nervous. I'm as nervous as a kitten. We did that bit. And one of the other characteristics I don't share with our feline friends is I can't wash my own anatomy, the nether regions with my tongue. And it's just as well for the human race, I think, that males in particular can't reach down there. Because I would give the human race about 3 generations before there's nobody left. Men would be at it all the time. There would be no incentive to go out. Be far too tired for anything else. You can imagine alien archaeologists visiting the Earth and finding all of these twisted bodies all bent and think, well, the human race must have died a terrible, painful death. Whereas in reality, nothing could be further from the truth. I think men would be at it all the time, but not so much women. They have a huge amount of stuff going on in their minds. And for this set tonight, I did some research, because there's always this talk about what women are thinking, what men are thinking. And it was so much that I had decided to find the right pocket with a piece of paper in it. Bear with me. It seemed a bit easier when I was rehearsing it. I made up a composite of what's going through the average wife, the average mother's mind at any one particular time. It's Johnny's birthday next month. We need to throw a party. Who to invite? Where will it be? Better not invite Cameron, he terrifies the other children. Where are we going on holiday? Which in-laws to invite for Christmas? Turkey or chicken? Must remind Graham not to get drunk and start talking politics. Cat needs worming. Will I finish work on time to make Lisa's parents' evening? Car needs a service. Must speak to Vicky about a girls' night out for her 50th. Living room needs decorating. Melvin needs to have his braces removed. Must book a dental appointment. Need to organise Jane's hen party. Does she want a night out or a weekend away? Butlins maybe? What meal should we have next week? Better pop to Tesco's. There was an awful lot more in some of their heads, but after a while I developed a nosebleed and a speech impediment. But women often think that men aren't thinking of anything, but while they're thinking of all this stuff, men are thinking some much bigger issues. They'll be thinking things like, who'd win in a fight between a wolverine and a mongoose? Given the option, which of the Friends female stars would I sleep with? Would it be Monica, Rachel, or Phoebe? And given a superpower, what would it be? The answers to those questions, I'm sure you're intrigued to find out, is it will be a wolverine because they're up 20 kilos, whereas a mongoose is only 6. Phoebe, obviously, because Rachel, far too prim and proper, and Monica would be far too controlling. Take me roughly from behind. No, not like this. Don't touch there. Do this. Not that. Faster. No, slower. Get out. Whereas Phoebe would be like a wild spirit, so you have a fabulous evening. And in terms of superpower, obviously time travel. You could win the lottery every week and then go back and solve some intriguing mysteries of our times. I'd be straight off to Texas and the grassy knoll to find out what really did go on down there. If you told the average woman what's going through a man's mind, they'd say you need some therapy. And I've been through quite a lot of therapy. And so at the start of the show, we start talking about mental health issues, just a little bit about the therapy that I've been through. And I've been identified as being a high-functioning autistic. I was quite proud of that because I've never been a high achiever at anything before. The autistic world now just classifies people as autistic now, so that's been taken from me. I also have characteristics of ADHD and PDA. PDA is fascinating. It's like an internal Tourette's, so that when I'm awake, any sort of interaction from anybody disrupting anything that I'm doing, my initial reaction is fuck off. Inside, I'm saying fuck off, leave me alone, fuck. And that's why people over the years have identified me as being a funny character that's always using a lot of humour, because you can't tell people to fuck off all the time. It's inappropriate, even though you want to quite a lot. So I developed a Google Translate system for inside to be able to take these things, so I wasn't the Antichrist, basically. And it involves me basically just laughing a lot and trying to find humour and break situations up. That's why I never really gave up smoking, because it's my escape from conversations and situations that I find quite difficult to get through. Anyway, a couple of funny stories now, believe it or not. Now the room's gone quiet and thought, poor man, should we get the ambulance? Here's a couple of elaborated stories that kind of explain how the PDA and the autism work. Autism has often been described as being pedantic or a black and white thinker. So, the first one is, I'm a senior citizen now. I like to travel by train, or I like the romantic notion of travelling by train. I got a senior citizen's rail card, so I get a reduction on the extortionate fees provided by our services. And I say I like the romantic notion of it. You sit back, enjoy watching the world go by, comfortably read a newspaper, have something to read, have something to eat, etc. The reality is completely different. The station manager bombards you from start to finish with where you've been, where you're going to, the culinary delights that await for you. In reality, that's an anemic cup of tea and a cardboard sandwich for a tenner. And why I always gravitate towards the A coach, because that's supposed to be the peace and tranquility coach, and the train manager will often be telling people, respect everybody's quiet. In reality, as soon as everybody sat down, he's finished his message, the fuckers have got their mobile phones out and they're conducting their businesses, their life stories, and the tedious stories of how they got to the station, etc. Imagine the conversation. Yes, we got through the traffic lights. Yeah, what's that? Yes, we managed to get through the traffic lights. The weather was okay. I've managed to catch the 4:30. No, I'm not dirty. We've managed to catch the 4:30. I've got a cup of tea. It's a bit weak. I might go and get another bag. What's that? I might go and get another bag. No, I haven't forgotten my bag. I'm going to get another tea bag. Oh, we're just going through a tunnel now. We might get cut off. Or wouldn't that be a fucking shame? One of the difficulties I really have when I'm travelling by train, though, is one of the key announcements that the train manager repeats over and over and over again, and it says, can all passengers ensure they take all their possessions with them when they leave the train? All their possessions? That means by extension I'm going to take all my possessions onto the train. My CD collection itself takes up a couple of suitcases, never mind a fridge freezer, double bed, and all those little spices that you get, and you've only been like fenugreek. We've only used for a quarter of a teaspoon for one recipe, and then it sits in there, and it's about 10 years old when you next go to look at it. Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling. I'm just like, how you racing along something, you think, well, where are we going next? Anyway. Getting off the train. Getting off the train. No, we're not going to get off the train. You're right, it is something to do with the train. We're going, thank you very much for that prompt. Anyway, I do travel by train sometimes, supporting the charity. But I went through London and noticed that at a change at Baker Street, and it said, there's a plaque on the wall at Baker Street, and it said, first tube station opened 1860. Most people looking at that would think, wow, that's nice to be steeped in that piece of history, something nice to know. My mindset works in a different way. It's like, well, where did it used to go? Where did passengers go to from that station? You can imagine the first train announcement. It said, the next train to leave from platform 1 will be the 4:30, travelling to the end of the platform, calling it a quarter of the way down the platform, halfway down the platform, and 3/4 of the way down the platform. Please change it halfway down the platform for the vending machines and the distant echoes of faraway future voices boarding faraway future trains. Anybody going to 3/4 of the way down the platform, please ensure that you travel in the rear 2 coaches, because by that time the front coach will be in a tunnel that leads to absolutely fucking nowhere. Please ensure you take all your possessions on and off the train, including those incredibly awkward penny farthings. When I left the fire service, I had a job as a caretaker in a stately home that had been converted into 20 flats. Some very well-to-do people there. The writer of Birds of a Feather. His wife was a senior officer on the Empire Fleet and the Empire Strikes Back. That's a little bit of a side information. Anyway, the manager came down from Gloucestershire one day and he said, someone's tipped coffee all over the place. Now, he had a bit of a short fuse, so I didn't want to question him. But I thought, 56 million square miles of Earth's surface, that's one hell of a cup of coffee. Where to start? I looked in the immediate vicinity, and there wasn't any sign of Milky Maxwell House having been tipped all over the carpet. So I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do this mammoth task, I'm going to start somewhere wonderful. So I popped off down to the airport with only the company credit card, and armed with a suitcase full of J-cloths, and flew over to Mauritius. Spent a couple of weeks there looking for it. Didn't find much coffee, but had a lovely time. When I got back, I was fired, believe it or not. Didn't he recognise black and white thinking? Respecting difference? No, did he? Fuck. I think some of the best stories, though, we ever hear, or some of the best verbal dialogues that you ever hear, will be things that you're just part and parcel of. You witness. You don't have to write it. It just comes. It just happens in front of you. Years ago, I was outside the Oxford Arcade in Cardiff, and with Vicky, Melvin and Lisa, friends of mine, and one of the shopkeepers was outside having a slice cigarette, and a member of the public came up and said, "I wonder if you can help me. Can you tell me where the British Gas showroom is?" Quick as a flash, the shopkeeper said, "Right, it used to be you go out of here, turn left, and then give a huge list of complicated instructions. You know the type where somebody gives you a huge list of instructions and you take on the first bit, turn left, and then your mind is completely fucking empty and you're just nodding like a dog. Oh yes, yes. No, I'd see the roundabout, that big oak tree, but I've got to and past that particular garage. Yes, I mean, and you know that all you've got is turn left. As soon as you stop talking, I'm turning left and I'm asking the next person I'm in." Anyway, she says, "Right, it used to be," and then a big complicated set of instructions. The member of the public that asked the question in the first place, response was fantastic. Her face was like a 50% contempt and 50% anger. And she said basically, "Used to be." We didn't hang around, but I like to think the rest of her response would be, "Now I know a lot of Doctor Who is filmed in this area, but do I look like a fucking Time Lord? What do you think I'm going to do now? Jump into my TARDIS and travel back to whenever the British Gas showroom is actually in this location? And by the way, probably take the opportunity to buy one of those lovely faux mahogany half-mounted gas fires with the porcelain radiant grills. You know, the sorts that give out absolutely no heat whatsoever? You can almost put your hand inside and you're still not burning. Yeah. You couldn't make it up. Well, not all of it anyway. Don't you just hate it when people say you couldn't make it up? And they'll be talking about the most banal set of circumstances. Haven't they read the works of Tolkien or J.K. Rowling, or listened to a single word that Donald Trump has ever said, or read a copy of the Daily Mail? That's the sort of thing you couldn't make up. And they'll be talking about how they were in a restaurant, they asked for the bill, and the bill took about 20 minutes to arrive, and then when it did arrive, shock, horror, they charged them for an additional eaten mess. Now, in Harry Potter, there's 10-foot talking spiders. There's dust that you put into fireplaces and you can teleport from one place to another. And Dumbledore had a complete body transplant between the first and the second film. Now that's the sort of thing it'd be very difficult to make up. Not a delayed bill arriving and a problem with an additional meringue-based dessert. And the other one that people use is like, it's like your worst nightmare. They'll be describing a situation where they've punctured one of their tyres in their car, and on their way to Quick Fit to get it fixed, the one on the other side punctures. They say, "Oh, it's like your worst nightmare." Well, inconvenient, slightly more costly than you might have expected, but I don't think that's featuring on a remake of Tales of the Unexpected, is it? My worst nightmare would be running along a huge, great platform, coffee stain platform, carrying my fridge freezer on my back, and getting shot in the face by an exasperated, easy for me to say, not, exasperated removal man, sick and tired of trying to get everyone's possessions on and off the train. Towards the end of my service, I was called to a house in Penarth by Control. One of those calls where you're under the quilt having a lovely, lovely sleep, and Control phone up and you answer your mobile. We've had a call. It's not can you respond to a great big, wonderful, exciting fire situation. It's we've had a call. You know from that introduction, you're going on your own to sort out some horrendous situation. Anyway, so we've had a call from an old lady who's a bit confused. She's got some buzzing sound in her house, and she's phoned the gas board, she's phoned the electricity board, and she's wondering if we could go and sort it out. So I pop along, I knock the door, she answered the door, the front door in a dressing gown, which is admittedly a very strange place to have a front door. She said, "Yes, how can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Graham from the fire service. I've come to investigate what's going on with this buzzing sound." "Oh, I don't need you, love. I need the electricity board or the gas board." I said, "Well, while I'm here, shall I have a little look and see what I can do?" Oh, if you will, I'll carry on trying to get through the electricity board. So as soon as I got in there, I could hear a little buzzing sound, and I had a look at the doorbell. The doorbell was wired with that like phone cable going into some cupboard under the stairs. So I thought, well, I'll have a look in there. Tiny little thing, about a foot off the ground. I got my torch out, opened the door, had a look in. Within about 5 seconds, the torch failed. So I said to her, I said, "Excuse me, love, have you got a torch?" "A torch, love? Yeah, I've got one of those. I'll get that for you now." Up onto the landing. "What am I doing up here?" "You get me a torch." "Ah, torch, love. Yeah, I'll get one of those for you now." She's gone for about a minute. Minute's really important here. Comes back downstairs and said, "Who the hell are you? What are you doing in my house?" I said, "I'm from the fire service." "I don't need you, love. I need the gas board or the electricity board." I said, "I know that, but I'm here now. I might as well have a look." "Bit of a problem. My torch has run out." "Have you got a torch?" "Oh yes, I've got one of those upstairs. I've just been sorting through some clothing. I'll get it for you now." Halfway across the landing. "What am I doing upstairs?" "Getting me a torch." "Oh yes, I've got one of those for you now. Pop into the kitchen. It's just at the bottom of the stairs, and make us a cup of tea, and I'll get that for you now." About a minute later, comes downstairs, looks in the kitchen. "Who the hell are you? Get out of my house." I said, "I'm Graham from the fire service. I've come to try and sort out the buzzing sound." "I don't need you. I need the gas board or the electricity board." It was beginning to feel like a dreadful remake of Groundhog Day. So I basically thought to myself, I've either got to call the pump in from Penarth and lose face and make me look silly for not being able to resolve the situation, make tactical officers 2 for another torch, or I've got to start thinking outside the box. So the next time I saw her, and she's going, "Who the hell are you?" and I explained the situation, I said, "By any chance, have you got any spare batteries?" "Oh yes, love, they're in this drawer." Thank fuck. Out they come. Got my torch working, went in, isolated the power, reconnected the bell, everything's working hunky-dory, thank goodness for that. Ah, yes. In 1996, no, but not 1996, we're going to do another joke now. And, apologies. Since I've been back in England, I've noticed on shows like at the Apollo, etc., that certain English comedians will tell a joke that kind of reinforces a very negative stereotype about the Welsh. And I thought, being back here in Wales for the first time in a while, I could put the shoe on the other foot with that particular joke and do a retelling of it. So it goes something like this. Picture the scene, Landock Hospital, just round the corner from here, the maternity ward. 3 expectant fathers, all waiting for the birth of their children. There's a Welshman, we sound like a 70s comedian sketch now. There's a Welshman, an Englishman, and a Pakistani individual.
Oh dear, be careful, Graham.
Is he going with this? Trapdoor opens, release the hounds. Anyway, the midwife comes out and says, "There's been a terrible mix-up. The 3 children have all been delivered successfully, but unfortunately, we don't know which one's which." Up pops Di, showing the ingenuity of the Welsh, and says, "Leave this with me, I'll get this sorted out." Pops in, comes back out a few seconds later with what is clearly the Asian child. He's walking off towards the car, and the Pakistani individual says, "You can't take that, it's clearly my child." Di, quick as a flash, turns around and said, "Look, there's 2 children left in there, one of them's English. I'm not taking any chances." So up you up live at the Apollo with your negative Welsh stereotypes. Are we looking for time? Anyone got the time? Very unprofessional. It's only half an hour. Let's do some more. Is it all right?
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to 1996, local government reorganisation. It's a bit of a potted history now, and it may offend some people in the room, I'm not sure, but it's all done in the best spirit. So anyway, 1996, 8 fire brigades in Wales, And their local government reorganisation basically split them all, or converted the 8 into 3. So there was North Wales, Mid and West Wales, and what we're going to be dealing with now is South Wales Fire and Rescue Service, which the component parts of that were Gwent, South Glamorgan and Mid Glamorgan. When we reorganised, just a little background here, the new chief of the organisation was the former chief of Mid Glamorgan. The new headquarters was the headquarters of Mid Glamorgan. Many of the administrative staff were former Mid Glamorgan people. Much of the culture, the policies, the procedures, the forms, the systems, the manner of working, even the way we talked, seemed to be former Mid Glamorgan. People were feeling a sense of a loss of identity and a bit of a takeover. So, in my infinite wisdom, which might explain why perhaps going forward I didn't reach the dizzy heights of chiefdom, I wrote a letter to the chief and the brigade magazine. And it went something like this. I said, since reorganisation, there is a feeling among many people within the service that they feel a sense of a loss of identity. I feel I have the remedy for this. Might I suggest a new name? A name that takes up some of the component parts of the old fire and rescue services. So for South Glamorgan, let's use the word Glamorgan. For Gwent, use Fire and Rescue Service. And for Mid Glamorgan, they've had such a big say in this new organisation, just a small word, just Mid. And if you put those all together, I think then individual members going forward will feel a sense of identity still. They've retained part of their old identity. And the new name of the service, if you can put that together, audience please, kind of summarises how most of us feel at the moment. I thank you. That's a bit of a fire service joke, but it seemed to work okay. Anyway, the control rooms continued for some time in their original formats, even though once we'd reorganised. But after a period of time, the South Glamorgan control was going to close, and that's the people who dispatch all the appliances, deal with all the emergency callers, etc., providing a sterling job for the fire services. Without the control rooms, we wouldn't be able to carry out our business. So, South Glamorgan being a very small organisation over the years, everybody knew everybody. Everybody had probably, no, you're not saying that. Everybody knew everybody. My wife told me not to say the next bit. Most people had slept with most other people. That's the only one, but thanks very much. Anyway, there's a cable caught around my leg now. Won't be doing any Michael. Yeah, really? Absolutely. He got electrocuted. It was all right up to that point. He went on a bit. No, but anyway, the control rooms all ended up in, surprise, surprise, Mid Glamorgan's, the new headquarters. They all ended up there. And as celebration and a memory of the old South Glamorgan control, we decided to have a party. And we went to the social club over at Atlantic Wharf, and there was a party there, hugely well attended. And when Mark Underdown and myself arrived, there was about 5-fold, 6-fold thick queue all the way to the bar. I said to Mark, we'll have a split approach to this. I'll go to one side of the bar, you go to the other. Get as many bottles as we can so we don't have to come back to this or don't have to go through the queuing system anymore. So, as luck would have it, or not, I managed to get served first. I come back with 6 bottles of Newcastle Brown and awaited Mark. I sat myself on a corner table and waited for Mark to come back. Before Mark arrived, a well-known chatterbox ambushed me in the corner and started to talk. And it was like a monologue. You know when someone just keeps talking and talking, there's no punctuation, and then don't even appear to be drawing breath. And what they're saying doesn't feel particularly interesting in the slightest. There's no change in tone, it's just, hi, here's someone to talk at for the next 3 or 4 months. He seemed to be breathing through his backside. There wasn't even a gap for me to get in. His head was beginning to get bigger and smaller. The walls even began to get pulsing. I thought, I'm going to pass out in a minute if you don't stop. Fortunately, luck was at hand. Mark Underdown arrived, tapped him on the shoulder, and said the following: "You are, without shadow of a doubt, the most singularly tedious, boring fuckwit I have ever had the misfortune to meet. Now carry on." For a split second, he was stunned. He looked like Tyson Fury that just had a good left off Anthony Joshua, hopefully. And then he just continued going on until he eventually went off and haunted somebody else. My wife and I worked out an alternative to that in this more modern times, that perhaps it might have been better to have said, what Mark to have said to him: "Fellow human, can I just say to you how I admire your loquaciousness? You are obviously have such a command and ability to talk at such length. You must be a godsend to all those lonely people in the hospitals that you visit at Christmas time." He didn't say that. I got 1, 2, 3 more things to say. It's my favourite joke in the world at the end, a little story about my time in Barry, and a confession. I can see some of you going, "Gay, gay, gay, gay." But it's not that kind of confession. Although it might explain a few things. So the next one is when I was a watch manager, sub-officer at Barry Fire Station. It was a Sunday, and when we came in, do the checks, etc., and you'd read the correspondence, and I'd filter out what was important, what wasn't important, and then we'd have a cup of tea and I'd explain to all the crew about what's going on. On this particular day, we had a letter from the council. We had a letter from the council! Sounds like something from the young ones. No, we had a letter from the council, and it was basically an invitation to us as key members of the community to assist the local council in coming up with a name for the new hospital, which was going to replace the Amy Evans Hospital that had served the people of Barry so well for so long. So we sat round as a watch. I got them off checking the special rescue unit, which basically seemed to involve counting a few ropes and then emptying the laughing gas cylinders, and they'd be giggling like fools. So they came in, we had to sit down and we had to think about it, and we couldn't think of that many people, famous people that come from Barry. We got Gwynfor Evans, who was former president of the Plaid Cymru, the Welsh National Party, and served as an MP for Carmarthen. We had Derek Brockway, BBC Wales and weatherman, and that was about all. We come up with a few different names. We thought of the Gwynfor Evans Hospital. We've chucked in Amy Evans as well, just in case, because she'd served the place for so well. Just to add to it, you want to show you've done some research, or got something to contribute. We put I think, and the other thing I wanted to say is, Derek Brockway, people up laugh, he's quite a flamboyant character. Some people might refer to him as Gay Derek, and I think Gay Derek is because of his flamboyancy and his sort of spring-like attitude, his energy, etc. I'm sure it can't be anything to do with the fact that, his sexual preferences, because in this day and age we don't define people by their sexual preferences, do we? Anyway, so we come up with a list of names. We've got the Gwynfor Evans Memorial Hospital, we have the Amy Evans Hospital, we have the Derek Brockway Cottage Hospital. And we put the Mark Ferrer Memorial Trust down as well. He's a larger-than-life character, God rest his soul. So a week or two passed by, and we're back on duty, and the letter comes back with a shortlist. They'd explain to us that they'd look at all the names and come up with a shortlist, and then we'd be asked to put our view of what the shortlist, or which one from the shortlist should be the name of the new hospital. So, watcher once again out, checking the special rescue unit, giggling like fools. I've got to get another Entonox cylinder laughing gas replaced. And literally, it's not even made up, is it? And so, I'll get there honestly. And yes. So the letter, I opened the letter up expectantly, thinking, I wonder if Derek Brockway's going to feature in this. About Gwynfor. We were quite proud of that, coming up with the ex-president of the Welsh Nationalists. Almost like a time for a drum roll. read the letter out. The provided names have been shortlisted into 2 selections, which you need to vote for. The first one was Barry Hospital. Well, get that boring one out of the way. The next one will be a Brahma. Derek's bound to feature in this somewhere. The second one is the Barry Hospital. So after all that, we're being asked to vote for whether to include the word "the" in the title. We threw the letter away and emptied another cylinder. Right, some of you might be pleased to know there's only 2 more bits. It's like the community safety business plans. It's my confession. So after I left Barry, we're not going through the whole career. We're just going to explain one more place that I worked, and that's community safety. I was like a fish out of water. I had another bust up with somebody and ended up being chucked into the community safety department after the relocation team. No, I haven't got any more bubble wrap. And so I ended up, where are we going to dump in? Oh, you can go into community safety in charge of youth services. Now, I wasn't particularly brilliant at that particular job, but lots of the people that worked in there were absolutely fantastic. Lots of youth engagement processes. Hugely dedicated staff, and an honour to have worked with them. I wasn't really managing them, they were managing me. Anyway, I was in charge of youth services, numbers of other smaller sections, or other sections within the department. And the fire service now loves its business plans, as long as a lot of organisations do. They've got to publish everything they're going to do, what they have done, the whys and wherefores. They've got to publish the numbers of outcomes, the objectives, all the activity that they're going to do, they're going to record it. And so at the end of the year, you publish what you've achieved, you look at what you said you were going to do, you've hopefully done a lot more than that, and you publish that whole document. It's a huge thing, it's public facing, it goes out on the internet. And my manager came up and said, Youth Services hasn't completed theirs yet, can you get it done this evening? Yep, not a problem. So I've got the facts and figures out. My ADHD had come to the forefront, leave everything to the last minute. But anyway, it's my opportunity to sit down doing it. I waited till there was nobody left in headquarters apart from Dick Pearson rewriting all of the operational manuals in one evening. It was just me and him there. And so I decided I'm going to get this done. It's a mixture of word and tables and all sorts of figures to be put in and lots of prose, descriptions, etc. Rather tedious, I have to say. And then, so I'm putting all of this in, entered all our data, and it says, do you want to spell check it before you submit it? And bearing in mind, this is getting published after I've submitted it. So I'm going through it. I've got to change it. I'm pretty good with the old English, to be honest. I've got a couple of extra commas, a couple of full stops I've missed out, the odd spelling mistake, nothing much. So that's all sorted. And it says, do you want to check the rest of the document? That huge, massive thing that everyone else has submitted. And then Ed Flanders in me thought, yeah, it's the right thing to do, isn't it? So I put, yeah, okay, check that. It comes up with a list of changes. The first one, I kid you not, the first one, it said, Aberdare, not found. Well, it's a major town in RCT. Surely you must be able to find Aberdare. Even I know where that is. Not found. Suggest Aberdeen. The spirit of Blue Watch Central revisited me. Now my options now are accept all, ignore, etc. Accept all changes. Let's just see who reads this document. Even if people are skinning through it, they're going to recognise the word Aberdeen. That's a proper place. It might be 600 miles away from our border, but Aberdeen's a real place. Next one. Pontypridd. Not found. Suggest Pontypandy, the fictional home of Firefighter Sam. Isn't that spelled fireman, Sam? Yeah, but it's pronounced firefighter. Never mind your commercial interest, think about the diversity. Power to the people. Bart Simpson was inside me now. I'm thinking about all those glory times with the watch. Now, I'm probably going to get away with Aberdeen, but Pontypandy, 17 occurrences, change all. The absolute best part of this whole thing is the next one. Now, I can probably just about argue my way out of changing Aberdeen to Aberdeen. Slip of the finger. Pontypridd does sound a little bit like Pontypandy, possibly. The next one was unbelievable. The next one was Tonapandi, not found. Suggestion, Toyland. 47 occurrences because we've done quite a lot of activity in Tonapandi. Grass is green, Bernie the sheep, all that type of stuff. You can't, I am. Insane. It's absolutely dreadful of me, and I am embarrassed to admit to it all. However, it was a long time ago. And I think it proves the point that nobody ever read those documents that we put so much effort into. And most importantly, how fucking racist is Word and the spell checker? You can find shit tips like Accrington and fucking Barnsley, but Aberdeen, Tonapandi and Pontypridd, you've got no idea about them. So in the spirit of Gwynfor Evans, I think I was striking one for him. I'm going to leave you now with my favourite joke in the whole wide world. I don't tell many jokes, because sometimes I get the punchlines a little bit wrong, and you've got to get the timing specifically right. However, I do love this one very much. Two guys sat on a train, sat opposite each other. Both got black eyes. The one says to the other guy, "What happened to your eye?" He said, "Oh, it was a bit of a Freudian slip." He said, "Oh, tell me more." He said, "Well, you know how you're thinking of one thing, and you mean to say one thing, but something that's going on inside your inner self, that comes out instead?" He said, "All right. What happened on this particular occasion?" He said, "I was at the airport with my wife, and we were flying to the States. And when I went to the counter to buy the tickets, there was a beautiful buxom woman there with a low-cut dress, and I could just imagine diving into that head first. And instead of saying, 'Can I have 2 tickets to Pittsburgh, please?' Gotta get this right. Instead of saying 2 tickets to Pittsburgh, please, I said, 'Can I have 2 pickets to your Titsburg, please? 2 pickets to your Titsburg, please.' And she punched me in the face. And the other guy, then he said to the other guy, he said, 'So what happened to you? How have you got a black eye?' He said, 'Freudian slip as well.' He said, 'Pray tell, please expand.' He said, 'Yeah, I was at the breakfast table with my wife the other day. And what I meant to say was, "Can you pass the cornflakes?" But what actually came out was, "You fucking bitch, you ruined my life." I'd like to thank you all very much for listening. It's people would say, "What's on your bucket list?" And they talk about going to all these exotic places all over the country. All I've ever really wanted to do is give this a go. It's my first go. I think I held it together as best I can. Some of it probably was a little bit too fire service centric. Perhaps the timings weren't 100% perfect, but it's just such a wonderful feeling to have some beautiful friends and family here to have allowed me the opportunity to talk to you like this. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for supporting the Firefighters charity. We'll have a little break now. I think Ian's going to run the raffle, and then you'll get to hear the wisdom of Ian Buckley. Thank you very much.